All right, ladies and gentlemen. I know I said I was going to start this at 1, but since I'm here already at the house, the boys have been taken care of, they've been fed, they've been taken outside. I feel there's no better time than to start right now and go over today's chapter of My Hero Academia. So let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way, shall we? Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another reaction for My Hero Academia. Last we left off, we saw that there were some para-liberation army members that pretty much tried to break out Makia, and they woke up Makia, but due to the efforts of Kirishima, Mina Ashido, and Mount Lady, along with Shinzo, they managed to get Makia under their control, because it was basically a recounting of how Makia found his way all the way over to All For One, and All For One was thinking that Makia was there to give aid to his master. But since Shinzo has, basically practiced with he's basically increased how effective his brainwashing quirk is. Now Makia is fighting on the side of the heroes, because of that quirk. We have Mount Lady right there with Makia. We got all the heroes that were chasing after All For One in the Gunga Mountains. And he's now stuck in place trying his best to defend himself from all of these heroes who are trying to keep him from getting towards Shigaraki. So now, let's see what today's chapter holds for us. And it shows that we're not going on break for My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen. So, let's begin with chapter 384. It's a Small World. And it begins with Makia in his, gigantic, almost titan. He's like a giant titan. He's bigger than a colossal titan. He's just bigger than them, and he's picking up an entire chunk of a mountain. Here's my thing. This man, Makia, has so many quirks within him. He's like basically the perfect Nomu because he has all of these quirks within his body, and his body isn't breaking down because of it. He has a quirk that makes it so that he only needs to sleep 3 hours, and then he can rampage just almost endlessly. He has a gigantification quirk that makes him even taller. He has multiple quirks that can just armor up his entire body. This man is a mountain of a monster. And he picks up a whole mountain as it cuts to Tokoyami, who's there. Because remember, Tokoyami's there along with the other heroes who are trying to keep All For One in place. But it cuts to Tokoyami, who's there with Hawks, going, "How dauntless! Shinzo's brainwashing quirk must be spurring on the giant's onslaught." And then it cuts to Hawks. "Hence calling this a gamble. Mount Lady's providing the best support she can, but..." And then it shows All For One. It shows All For One still there trying to hold his own. Still trying to hold his own against everyone. Like he's defending himself from everyone. And then All For One thinks to himself, and you remember he's young now, "This explains how the Aoyama family deceived me. All courtesy of a manipulation quirk. Hitoshi Shinzo's brainwashing is undone by even a mild impact?" And mild impact? A mild impact? Hitoshi Shinzo's brainwashing is undone by even a mild impact? Kirishima! This is my modus operandi. And once undone, he'll steal back control, as it shows Makia being hit by All For One. And then it cuts to Makia, who's speaking. "Your form changed, but I know you by your scent. Long have I searched for you, All For One, my master. Why, oh why did you leave me behind?" And now Makia is now, oh no, the brainwashing has been undone. Oh, this is scary, okay? This is scary. The brainwashing has been undone because Makia just got hit by All For One. That is my modus operandi. And once undone, he'll steal back control. But All For One is just looking at Makia, and then Hawks is thinking, forcing a target to speak, like when we split up the villains. No, the brainwashing wasn't reapplied after that bombardment. Then what's going on here? And then it cuts to All For One, who was speaking to Makia, I guess, in their first appearance. My precious, lovable Makia, I will soon hide myself away. But know this, my successor will seek you out. My greatest regret is that I won't get to pamper and spoil you anymore. On that day, my replacement master had your scent and your voice. I could tell. I would know you anywhere. All For One! After I kept the faith and waiting for you for so long, you abandoned me and ran away! And it shows Shinzo, who's right there, who's still on top of Makia, as it shows Shinzo and Kirishima's right in front of him. Only Midoriya and this guy have ever put up a fight against my brainwashing. That delirious muttering while he was brainwashed, expressing his deep-seated anger over being betrayed. That's why I'm just along for the ride, with his unbridled rage as a safety feature. And then it shows All For One just glaring over at Makia and presumably at Shinzo as well. Let me turn the brightness up just a little. Yeah, that's much better. It shows All For One just floating amidst all this debris. I'm often told that my ability seems villainous, and this is Shinzo, but my quirk can't actually control a person's heart! Looks to me like nobody's on board with your grand tale, buddy. And then it cuts to Makia zoning in on All For One. It cuts to Mount Lady zoning in on All For One. It cuts to Balder. It cuts to Balder Dark Shadow bearing down on All For One as we see the words, keep him pinned down until he vanishes. And it shows the point of impact where everyone is using all of their strength to just bombard the area where All For One is. And then we cut away from it, and we cut to a news helicopter. We definitely don't want to interfere with the actual battle. Yeah, I brought our snazziest camera, so we've even got a clear view from outside the combat zone. Asking for a chopper in this storm? You sure your head's screwed on right? I could ask you the same thing. We've just got this primordial urge to show the story playing out. And then it cuts back to this news reporter. Yeah, it cuts back to this news reporter talking to this other person in the office. Hey, check this out. When I heard that guy wrapped in rags was actually a UA student, well, I review my old work a lot, so I remembered him. The same one who a year ago was shaking in his boots before the sports festival. And look at him now. And it shows apparently all the fight. The fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki is currently being shown to the world live. All because of La Brava. And it shows the same reporter, she's sniffling right now, because it shows Gentle Swashbuckling Channel of Daring Do. And in this stream, because this is Gentle's channel, this is the channel that La Brava set up for Gentle, but it shows the fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki. And there's a titanic clash between the two as Midoriya is keeping Shigaraki from touching him, while Shigaraki is just looking absolutely insane, laughing and smiling at Midoriya. Guess we're not the only ones who felt like we couldn't sit around doing nothing. But what kind of idiot sends a helicopter out in a storm? And then it's another news reporter. I apologize for forcing you to tag along. Nobody forced me to do a darn thing. And this person who's in this helicopter is the same person all the way back who tried to question Aizawa about the events of Gentle breaking. I'm trying to remember. It was when Aizawa was there. It was when what is his name? The muscle guy, Death Muscle or Death Arms. Death Arms. I think his name is Death Arms. And the other teachers He was there apologizing for everything that went on. And this one reporter tried to grill him on it. She's the same person, and she's shown up. She's in the other helicopter. Those are the two helicopters that are there. They're news. They're different news outlet helicopters. The two that were showing up, they're them. That's them. I apologize for forcing you to tag along. Nobody forced me to do a darn thing. I can't even call this journalism. It's more like I'm addressing a private grievance. A private grievance. It's basically a personal matter. Hey, the station's closed down and we ain't getting paid anyhow. So yeah, when it ain't a paid job, then of course it's personal. That goes for them as well. And there are plenty more than just Izuku Midoriya. They had to watch their colleagues step away from the war. So those who remain on the battlefield chose to do so. Either that, or they had no say in the matter. News outlets worldwide are reporting the fall of Japan, but I'm here to get the word out that we still have people fighting for us. This story will be told, whether they claim victory or taste defeat. Now, mind you, Midoriya is still fighting on the ground, and it just shows the entire region. It feels like it's just exploding from both Shigaraki and Midoriya clashing with one another, and it shows the UA Fortress that's still airborne in the air. It's smoking right now because of all the destruction that Shigaraki's wrought upon it, but it just shows the UA Fortress, and then it shows the ocean. And then it shows people looking at this live feed of this big titanic battle that will basically decide the fate of the world itself. We got kids watching going, oh wait, this story will be told whether they claim victory or taste defeat. By showing their story and however it may end, we unify everyone and make the world that much smaller. And then it shows that the current views of people who are watching Gentle's channel as this fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki go on, it keeps increasing, goes from 7,600 to 20,000 people.
Wait, where's Japan again? That's where All Might's from.
We can let them know that this story's not over yet. And then it shows that people everywhere are tuning in. All over the world, people are tuning in Egypt. That looks like London. In America. All these different places, all these different regions. Yeah, that's London because Big Ben's in the background. People on the beach, in the tropics. In Dubai, I can't tell if that's Dubai. I can't tell if that might be New York City. That might be New York City because I see multiple bridges leading out of the island. But, and it shows Death Arms. He's in this panel as well. I didn't recognize him without him having his trademark headband on, but Death Arms is tuning into this as well. Huh. I felt it was peculiar when it showed Death Arms as one of the people that left the hero business because of this war, and he's tuning in to what's going on. I didn't notice that. But she says, we can let them know that this story's not over yet. And that's the end of the chapter. So, pretty nice chapter. I mean, it's just Gigantomachia, everyone will survive, right? Oh wait, never mind, I take that previous statement back. Get down, Mr. President. See, here's the thing, Halster. What we gather from this chapter is basically we learn that Shinzo's brainwashing can work on people, but it doesn't change their heart. It can override their mind a little bit, but it won't change their heart. So if they feel something, the only people who have fully I wouldn't even say broken out of. I'm trying to say the right word, grammar-wise. Who have broken out of Shinzo's brainwashing so far, apparently, and this chapter introduces a new person, is Midoriya and Makia. They're the only two people to actually break out of the brainwashing. So, if I pull this up, because I'm going to pull it up on my phone, I'm going to pull up this chapter on my phone so we can look at the notes. Hopefully the notes are there so we can go over the... Dang, still not up. Nope, it doesn't have the notes for this chapter. So, this whole chapter shows that Makia is capable of, breaking out of the brainwashing, but he hasn't turned on the heroes. That's the thing. Because Hawks goes, Hitoshi Shinzo's brainwashing is undone by even a mild impact. And it shows Makia getting blasted by All For One. That's the thing. Makia is the one who gets blasted by All For One. Because in when the panel where All For One says, "This is my modus operandi," he blasts Makia. He completely blasts Makia away, and Makia just stands up, kind of singed from this blast. I don't know what kind of blast it was, but it was massive, and it shows dust settling off of Makia after he got blasted. And Makia's just wondering, why did you leave me behind? Because it shows Makia when he was first there with All For One. And then it shows All For One just basically leaving him behind. And it cuts to Makia, who says, "You abandoned me and ran away." So it basically just shows Makia is just fed up. Makia is fed up with All For One completely. Yeah, it's lucky Makia is just a cute puppy dog on the inside to his monstrous exterior. Because here's the thing. We don't know the history of Makia. Like, in this chapter, we see All For One come across Makia. But we don't know the history of Makia as a whole. But it's gotta be something serious if this individual that Makia has regarded as master and went out of his way to go towards and run towards after all this time, and the very first question he asks his master is, "Why did you abandon me?" And then it shows Makia. I wouldn't say he's joining the heroes, but he's pretty much fed up with All For One, and he just attacks him without Shinzo giving him an order or anything. Because in the same panel, Shinzo says, "Only Midoriya and this guy have ever put up a fight against my brainwashing." That delirious muttering while he was brainwashed, expressing his deep-seated anger over being betrayed. That's why I'm just along for the ride with his unbridled rage as a safety feature. I'm often told that my ability seems villainous, but my quirk can't actually control a person's heart. Looks to me like nobody's on board with your grand tale, buddy. So, and then it just shows Mount Lady, Balder, Dark Shadow, and Makia just using all of their strength. Pretty much all the heroes are using all of their strength to keep All For One pinned down so that he can fully rewind out of existence. Then it shows a couple of news crews as Midoriya and Shigaraki clash with one another. Shigaraki's still trying to touch Midoriya, but Midoriya is, like holding him back. And the whole world is watching. It's not just everyone who's in Japan that's paying attention to this. Everyone across the globe is witnessing this fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki. Thanks to La Brava, the world knows just what's at stake here. And the whole world just holds its breath to see what happens. And these two news crews, one being one reporter and the other being the other reporter that was grilling Aizawa earlier on in the series, she's showing up as well because she knows that this is a story that needs to be told, but this is also a personal matter for her, like a personal grievance. This is personal for her because they need to have this story reach out throughout the entire world. Because in her own words, this story will be told whether they claim victory or taste defeat. By showing their story and however it may end, we unify everyone and make the world that much smaller. Because this probably would have been just contained in Japan. This knowledge and stuff would have been pertained in Japan. People would have found out after the fact. No country would have majorly gotten involved or even witnessed all this stuff go down. Some countries will probably have been oblivious to everything that's going on right now. But due to La Brava, the whole world knows what's going on between Shigaraki and Midoriya. The whole world realizes that if the heroes lose, so does the entire world. Now, mind you, this is just something I'm just saying verbatim, but this is important for the entire world to witness. Because as far as everyone, it'd be kind of like All Might and All for One's first fight. Pretty much. The world is at a standstill right now. Everyone has stopped what they're doing. They are watching this fight, and the amount of people that are witnessing this entire battle go down is far bigger than just Japan. It's in America, it's in London, it's in Europe, it's across the globe, near and far, worldwide. Everyone is watching the literal fate of humanity go down right now. The fight that will decide the fate of humanity. The whole world is watching. So when this fight is over, it's not just going to be Japan that is rejoicing over this. It is going to be the entire world, depending on who wins. The world will be rejoicing or the world will be lamenting. Either one of those things. But I am glad that there are some people in the news outlet of this story that feels like this is something that needs to be told. It doesn't need to be sugar-coated. We need to witness everything. Whether the heroes win or lose, the world needs to know. And with that knowledge, that worldwide knowledge, everyone can come to the same conclusion. Because if it was just like confined to Japan, then there are chances that some people will look at it like, oh, that happened over there. Well, we ain't got to worry about that sort of thing happening in America, or we don't have to worry about that sort of thing happening in Dubai, or we don't need to worry about that sort of thing happening in Italy or in France or basically anywhere else. With what this does is basically unify the world in one singular thought. This fight, like I said, decides the fate of everybody. So I'm pretty sure everyone is unified in hoping that the heroes win this, because if the villains win, that's the end of everything. So yeah, the reporter is right. I forget her name, but she's right. By unifying the world under this one thing, this one kid who was trembling during the sports festival has now fighting in a life or death situation that will decide how the rest of the world goes from here on in. This is a big story that everyone needs to be involved in. So yeah, this is a very serious chapter. I'm not going to say it was just like massive and big and overwhelming, but seeing these moments where other characters other than heroes show up and they're doing their part, because most of the time it would have just been like, oh, we're just watching the heroes do this and watching the heroes do that, but we're just spectators. But no, this is why the support class, like not just the support class, but the business class was so adamant on trying to get this footage and trying to get all this knowledge now. And trying to get all this, because they weren't there the last time to get this information out and do their heroics. This is a really heavy chapter in terms of how important this battle truly is. It really is, Halster. It is. Because the fate of the world rests not in All for One getting to Shigaraki, but it's singularly the fight between Shigaraki and Midoriya. Two polar opposites of one another. One that wants to destroy everything that the world has to offer and destroy all of society that basically turned him into what he is. And another that aspires to be a great hero and use his power to protect everything that he loves. These two opposing ideals that are pretty much the strongest individuals that exist right now. All for One is out there, but he's not as strong as he used to be because he's slowly getting weaker. Because as I said, if your body's rewinding, there's only so much control you're going to have over your quirks, because I have yet to see a baby have control over their quirks. Look at Eri. She's still a kid. She doesn't know how to properly control her powers, but she's still getting good at it. But there's only so much the body can handle, and I feel like All for One, sure, he could continue to regress until he's a child, but his control over his quirks may not be as refined as he was as an adult. So All for One is no longer really the major thing that we have to really concern ourselves with. We have to concern ourselves with Shigaraki, who not only has All For One's original quirk within him, but his body has basically evolved to function as if he beyond the realm of quirks. Like his body automatically adapting to things that automatically adapting even when he had his quirks turned off because of Aizawa and Monoma. His body was still shape-shifting and changing around, which functions on a far higher plane than regular quirks. We got this dude to worry about. But we also got Midoriya, who's operating on full tilt, evenly contending with Shigaraki right now. This is a heavy chapter, because if Midoriya loses, not saying that he will, but if he loses, that's the end. That's all there is. There isn't anymore. But if Midoriya wins, it'll single-handedly be one of the greatest moments the world has ever known ever since All Might arrived. That's how I feel about this chapter. This is a heavy chapter because the implications are absolutely massive. I wonder where we're going to be once this series hits 400 chapters, because we are not far off. We are, 16 chapters away before we've hit 400? I wonder where we're going to be once we get close to that number. Or if the story ends before we even get to that number. Still too soon to say, but I have to say that I am heavily invested on how things turn out. I'm worried because I feel like Deku is going to run out of steam soon. Wasn't there a warning that he has to finish this quickly from one of the previous users? Yes, he said that if he uses gear like overdrive, he'll have to finish it quickly because Midoriya is not used to using that quirk. So he still has the massive drawback. I mean, when he uses that quirk, he says, like, you got to end this fight quickly because that it's not a power you have trained with and you're not used to yet. So you probably need to end this fight quickly. But I don't think it means that Midoriya has, like, a short window in order to get everything done and then he's just straight kaput. I mean, this isn't like Gear 4th when Luffy used it the first time against Doflamingo and then he has to wait 10 minutes for his haki to come back. But Deku does need to be careful so that he doesn't run out of energy and overtax himself against Shigaraki, who is freely able to use all of his quirks now. And it's devastating the landscape that they're fighting in. I mean, you can see the entire region from from a high altitude, and you just see this massive explosion happening from the point where Midoriya and Shigaraki are clashing. So Midoriya does need to be careful, but we're just going to have to see where things end up in the next chapter next week, since we're not going on break. This is where I'm going to bring my reaction and review. This was a pretty good chapter. I enjoyed it. But when you think about the implications about what this fight means for the future of the world, it is incredibly heavy, because that means that you cannot make any mistakes, because a single mistake could cause the entire downfall of all of society and the end of all free life as we know it. So yeah, there are some very heavy implications here. But that's all I got for this chapter. Let me not keep you here any longer than I already have. We got one more chapter to react to, and that's for Jujutsu Kaisen, so I'm going to get that started in a couple of minutes. To everyone here, all I can say at the end of the day is, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then like, subscribe, share this stream with everyone you know, because the more the merrier. And maybe even consider becoming a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. Once again, as always, later, peoples.